You're listening to
Catholic Sprouts,
the daily podcast for Catholic kids that strives to plant seeds of faith. Hey there, Sprouts. Today is Monday, April 1st, 2019. This week on the Catholic Sprouts podcast, we are going to continue to look closely at Jesus Christ as we move through Lent. Last week, we discussed the miracles in the gospel. This week, we are going to look at the parables. Now, in case you don't know, Jesus oftentimes taught the crowds and his disciples with parables. Now, parables are short little stories, and they are storytelling in the Jewish tradition. They're a little bit strange for us to understand, but they would have been a very natural way to teach and learn for the Jewish people who were Jesus's disciples and followers while he was on earth. So let's talk about what a parable is and why Jesus used them to teach. So like I said, a parable is the Jewish style of storytelling. Usually they use images or types of people that we find in ordinary life. Jesus talks about things like shepherds and planting seeds and servants or people that get injured or a father and a son, all things that we understand and interact with all the time. So he uses common things, but oftentimes in a parable there is something strange, something that just is not ordinary and makes us really wonder what is going on. The other thing that might seem strange about a parable is that there usually isn't a clear moral or lesson. Oftentimes in the storytelling we're used to a strong moral at the end. A story might end and we hear something like, and this is why we don't steal. Now that's good, but that's not how a parable is told. In fact, oftentimes a parable leads to more questions than answers. In fact, a parable is meant to help us think more deeply about something. It encourages us to question and grow in our belief through those questions. Finally, the parable that Jesus told oftentimes reveals something about God the Father and his expectations and relationships with us. So, in all of the parables that we talk about this week, look for that strange thing that you can wonder about, and also wonder, what does this reveal about God the Father, and what does it reveal about my relationship with him? Today, we are going to start looking at parables with a rather short one. We are going to look at the parable of the lost sheep. This parable is included in several of the different Gospels, but we are going to read the story from the Gospel of Matthew. "What do you think?" Jesus asked. "If a shepherd had 100 sheep and one of them had gone astray, does he not leave the 99 on the mountains and go in search of the one that went astray? And if he finds it, truly I tell you, he rejoices over it more than over the 99 that never went astray. So it is not the will of your Father in heaven that one of these little ones should be lost." The Gospel of the Lord. Now, perhaps you've heard that a lot, and perhaps you don't even hear the strange thing in there. So imagine you're a shepherd. Imagine that you have 100 sheep. Now, you need these sheep because you're going to sell the wool and the meat, and that is how you're going to provide for your family. So you need these sheep. Okay, say one of them goes astray. Would you walk away from the 99 and go look for the one? Remembering that your family, in order to survive, needs these sheep to not get devoured by wolves or stolen by someone else. Would you do that? Well, you probably wouldn't, right? Why would you go and save the one sheep and leave the other 99 behind? Well, that's what's strange about this. In fact, the people listening to Jesus were probably thinking, no, I wouldn't leave the 99 and go look for the one. That's because that is what's supposed to make us think. And in fact, we are supposed to learn about the radical, crazy, boundless love of God here. God wants us with him. God will seek us out. God is at the door knocking. He is the good shepherd. He doesn't get to the end and say, well, I have 99, that's good enough. No, he wants every one of us with him. He is devastated over the loss of even a single soul. And when he finds us, he will place us on his shoulders and bring us back with rejoicing over the one that was lost and has been found. So that is the radical nature of God. That's why it sounds so crazy. No shepherd in real life would be this way, but God's love is stronger. And so, Sprouts, here is my challenge for you today. Each day, I'm going to give you a simple prayer based on the parable that we talked about. Simply repeat this prayer once or twice in your mind. Think about this parable and ask God to really come into your life in this way. Here is our prayer for today. Jesus, help me to allow you to find me.
That's it for Catholic Sprouts today. We'll be back tomorrow, but until then, continue to grow in your faith and truly sprout into the beautiful creation that God intended you to be. Just one more thing, Sprouts. I need your help. Following Easter, we are going to be having a special series here on the Catholic Sprouts podcast where we talk directly to people that have made the choice to enter religious life, specifically those that serve our church as priests or those that have become nuns. So, what I need from you are questions. If you could ask a priest or a nun anything, what would you ask them? Talk to your adult and have them submit your questions that I will use to talk to priests and nuns and share with you here on the podcast. So submit them at catholicsprouts.com/questions.